We're discussing a deep grounding in our spirituality that becomes biblical, literally biblical. The end of the world, where all the decent people transcend beyond this. And the only real detail is understanding that everything of the material, natural world, the celestial lights in the sky at night, even that, are not of this divine presence that we are, you are. And if you can understand that, you'll understand everything, you'll heal everyone, you'll lift everyone, and you'll do those things that Jesus said that you'll do greater works than these. And he spoke of, and all the prophets of the old book spoke of a time when all this would be over and gone. And it's all involved in deep, deep, deep prayer, meditation, reflection, contemplation, using your spiritual gifts around the clock, withstanding the forces of darkness, number one. Because the entire world is a subterfuge. It's not real. It's not meant. It's indecent. It's horrible. It's the cause of every inappropriate interchange between people, of all the horrors, all the animal nature of beings is not meant. God will meet us in love, as our own heart will meet us in love, beyond the body, but that's, so we make a big spectacle of romance, but that's not the point. If you're deeply involved in your spiritual life, you'll know that the romance is simply a touchstone to what every serious spiritual person I've known in my life, and there are thousands and thousands from all over the world, every country basically, or place in the world at least, and they're called mystics. You're a mystic. And it will take a collection of mystics, as you are, to fulfill the biblical prophecy, that there be time no longer, that the mystery of God should be finished. That's from Revelation 10, in the revelation of St. John. It's not that this need not be all the horrors of the world, but it will end on your watch. You'll be quite vigilant in your prayer, your meditation, your mystical way of living. And there are very few people you can really communicate directly about, but they'll keep appearing more and more. The right circumstance, the right technique, the right sense of prayer, the right divine revelation will come to you throughout the day and night as you seek this higher order of beingness. And the basic understanding of it is to look right through the whole world as every mystic. Read the writings of all the great mystics that ever lived, from the St. John of the Cross to all the Eastern, the Western, this or that, around the world. And you'll find that every place in the world has their holy men, their holy women, the precious ones. Lamas in Tibet, the Lama meant precious one, Rinpoche. And so it was dealt with in a very precious, it's not, he's the Lama and it's something formal and you do a prayer. It's a kind of love and decency and interaction that is hard to describe to a Western group of people because we're not around that. Or there are small groups that do that, but when you're around an entire culture that knows there's something so honorable, so decent, so pure, so true. And we'll say with the Dalai Lama running his, with the bells and the, and so, and the dorji in his hand, the candles, it's when you walk into a room with my friend, the Karmapa, the holy man of Tibet, when you walk into a room where you're with them, it's something, these are men's men. These are powerful, powerful people. They're completely at one. As I felt in combat with my Marine buddies, you're completely one person. You live and die for each other like you're the arms and legs of each other. But this is dealing with eternity, so it's transcendent of all that because the madness is gone. You've transcended whatever people think eternity is. You're a mystic. You're a kind one. You're a true one. You're a healer. You're a holy one. There's nothing you cannot do spiritually. Nothing. You'll keep running into circumstances and situations during your life, and if you look back at them now, there's a certain type of circumstance or person that got involved and things went haywire. And if you get very quiet right now, and look back at it and look at, it could be a person themselves are very dark, but they were sent in by the dark force. But if you look right directly at Satan, this kind of it's that kind of being that's like a cartoonish thing. It's really absurd. And if you're a mystic, you get it, and you're sad about other people that they get so lost in their thoughts, which is absurd. A mystical person never gets lost in their thoughts. They're quiet. They can look at the movie screen of all the stuff in the world, and it's not there. You're trained to be gracious, kind, decent, healing, helpful to people, communicative. You'll do any labor, any task when it's called for, but you're not here. And you've never been here. The real you is God. And perhaps that's what Jesus talked about, that you'll do greater deeds than this. You will simply be God. You won't have to rise up in the air, and you'll transcend through this, and it will be over forever. That's your gift. That's your reason. That's what you are. There is no who you are, because you're nobody to yourself. A spiritual person is excuse me, a light bearer. We're not anything more. We have no ego. Excuse me. I have no ego, no circumstance. We're not addicted to anything. We're simply present. Does that make sense? Your only weakness is humility. A spiritual person doesn't make a stand for anything. They could. Myself as a spiritual person, if I have to make a stand, I will make a stand. And yet, I'm very shy and humble around people, and I turn myself inside out to do the right thing for the person around me. Even though I'm deeply trained, when I'm with other spiritual people, or I'm being used as a healer or a teacher, then I can be very direct and open because we're in a spiritual environment. But dealing with people normally, I'm very kind, considerate, gentle. You know what I'm saying? And yet you have the power of Jesus Christ, of God. Do you understand that? That's who and what you are. So find some spiritual enhancement techniques, some concentration techniques, where you quiet yourself and come to this realization. Write it down on paper, or whatever you do, these are my qualities. This is my wish for life. This is what I can do. So it's not your profession. My buddy Greg here is a great general manager and a 10th degree martial artist, a school of martial arts, and all that. But the real of him is it was with his granddaughter in the heart, and it's spiritual, and it feels the presence of his family around him, and the real part is eternal. But he never talks about that because he's doing what's right around him in the best way you can all day and every day. So we do what's best for those around us all the time, but we're not here ever. I have never been here. And I've turned myself inside out, around the clock, to care for those that are worthy of care, and to tamp down the violence of the others. Violent in their head, they're arrogant, they're whatever. And I know how to do that, so I can get to almost anyone in the world. I'm saying this for you. For me to say it about myself, now I'm shocked that I said it, but it's true. There's nothing you cannot do. And you'll continually be set into circumstances that are so strange and horrible, but if you look very quietly back at it, you'll see that the same force, the devil, was behind this individual or some circumstance, and you get very quiet and like, it'll all go up in a puff. Or was all your conditioned experiences where traumatic incident chain. You see what I'm saying? And if you look at them all very quietly, they'll go up because you'll see the same force behind it. It's not that this person did that and that person, the whole world is the force. God did not create anything material. God is infinitely more pure, infinitely, than anything of the material universe. It doesn't matter. And to explain this to someone who doesn't care about it is a fool's errand, and we don't have to do that. We simply have to be quiet. And you'll turn back into God. You can have a billion thoughts in a moment about all the people in the world and circumstances, and you'll have different things like this, but they're all of a pure, open nature. You'll have endless visits. When I wrote my book, Heaven, I had 6,000 visits of teachers that I was aware of in my life and see them, and they would write 3 words in it. The next person writes, and yet the book came out. Does this make sense? You're holy. You're pure. You're a great, great hero to God. You volunteered as an angelic presence to fall into this plane of beingness that is the actual hell. This is hell. And if you get that and gather it, don't give it anything, in your quiet and your purity and your decency, and you realize the calamity that your life has been, doesn't matter how successful or not we are in the world, as a spiritual being, you'll always feel that you're a failure. I'm sure every Buddhist that did deep meditation in their life, they passed away feeling a failure because the world still exists. It doesn't matter that they're close to God. That means nothing to me. The only thing that means something to me is that 8 billion people if they choose, are close to God, and if not, they disappear because they're not really here. Does that make sense? This is my buddy Reverend Shin, and he's a Zen master from Dr. Sho. We built this Zen center in the mountain anyway, and we had a guy with us, Gary Brown, who was not the best guy in the world. There's something dark about him, but he's still there, and he was training to be a monk, whatever. And so Reverend Shin and I, by the stove, were putting something together, and Reverend Shin turned and looked at me, and he's an enlightened person. And out of the blue, he said, "Where is Gary Brown?" And I simply said, "He is not here." In other words, in the place that Reverend Shin and I were as pure spirit. And that's the whole idea of the Zen koan, is that. It's an experience so transcendent. So the words mean nothing except to the 2 people involved in it. They mean everything, and there's even a sense of humor in it, but it's a whole truth. It means that the world does not exist, and those of the world do not exist. That makes sense? Everything is mystical. You, your mom, your dad, your puppy, your kitty. Where we meet in our heart, that's mysticism, that's God, that's you, that's forever. That's your treasure. Where your heart is, your treasure shall also be. Or you see what I'm saying? It's your treasure is enlightenment, then you will illumine the whole world. This time around, you will illumine the whole world and realize that all the weird circumstances in your life where people are setups from the dark force. And if you look back at it that way, you'll be healed. There'll be no guilt, no remorse, no blame. It's just, Gary Brown is not here. You are forever. You are the presence of God in a hell. And simply understanding that will uninvolve you and all the decent people in the world from this hell, and it will simply cease to exist. Only the purity of you exists. And that's where the meditative practices take you. Not this, not that. Pure perception. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Mr. Skolta.